Today I'm canning pizza sauce, and this recipe is from Ball's Complete Book of Home Preserving. I'm using super Italian paste tomatoes in this sauce, and I'm going to run them through my Victorio food strainer, and I'm also using an electric motor that Navajo Pa 31 gave me to use on this strainer. I love that electric motor, and I hope to do a separate video on that very soon. As you can see, this strainer does an excellent job of separating the sauce from the seeds and peels. You can use any kind of tomatoes you like on this, but I like the paste tomatoes because they're so meaty. Altogether, I'm using 13 cups of tomato puree. I put about half of it in the pot and I brought it to a boil and I stirred it occasionally. I maintained the boil and added additional puree 1 cup at a time. Then I added half a cup of lemon juice, 2 teaspoons of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. The recipe doesn't call for it, but I added 1 tablespoon of sugar, and according to Ball, you can change the spices in this recipe. Just don't mess with the proportion of tomato puree to lemon juice. Now you're supposed to boil the sauce hard, stirring frequently until the mixture is the consistency of a thin commercial sauce, about 15 minutes. Believe me, it takes a bit more than 15 minutes to do that. Now I have my jars hot and ready, my lids and rings at a simmer, and I'm ready to start canning. I took a hot jar, and it's important that you always heat your jars because it helps prevent breakage. And from experience, I can tell you it also helps give you a better seal. Then I filled the jar with the pizza sauce, leaving 1/2 inch headspace. I wiped the rim of the jar clean. I took a hot lid and a hot ring. I heat my lids and rings, but they say that you don't have to anymore. Then I tightened the lid firmly. I set the jar back in my water bath canner to stay warm until I had all of the jars full. I set the rack down into the canner. I made sure there was at least 1 inch of water covering the jars, placed the lid on the canner, and I processed the jars for 35 minutes. When the time was up, I turned off the heat, I removed the lid, and I let the canner sit for 5 minutes. Then I removed the jars and I placed them on a towel on the counter to cool. The next day I removed the rings, washed the jars, wrote pizza sauce on the top and the date that I canned them. So that's how I can pizza sauce. I hope it helps. And if you'd like to know how I make pizza, I'll be uploading that video shortly.